Hey guys, I want to talk about something about a thing called Stop Killing Games. Okay, Stop Killing Games is an organization that really focuses on any game, whether or not single or multiplayer, to give the audience or the customer the tools needed to make sure the game stays alive. I'll give you a perfect example of what I mean. The Crew is probably the biggest one. The Crew is a game by Ubisoft, and when the game sort of flopped, the game sort of flopped. What Ubisoft did was, even though people bought The Crew, they cut funding from it. So people can't play the game that is primarily multiplayer. So they just bought a game that they can't play, and Ubisoft shut down the servers, and anybody that bought the Crew game, they can't use it anymore. And it's really, really sad. Okay, so basically what I want Ubisoft and every other game developer to do is pretty much, when it comes to not taking care of servers, or when it comes to DRM or stuff like that, give the tools to the gamer so that they can continue to play the game that they paid for. I'm not talking MMOs. MMOs is a completely different like landscape, but in general, most video games. So let's go ahead and play this game right here. Another good example would be Borderlands. You can play 1, 2, and 3 with your friends right now because Gearbox is, say what you want about Randy Pitchford, at least every single one of them are peer-to-peer with shift-up servers, and you can play every single one of those games. And I hope later on down the road that they will let people continue to play those games. So let's go ahead and do this. I bet my voice is way too fucking high, and nobody has said a dang thing. Let's go ahead and put you up by 11:30. Yeah, that's fine. Maybe that'll be a little bit better. Let's go ahead and start this.
Guy, you feeling lucky? Yeah, that's right. Spirit fingers. Do you know why? Because it's been about 30 hours since I last slept, and I've done 3 different intros, all of which crash and burned, and I am off my gourd, so now I'm going wacko mode. But even in my sleep-deprived state, I am still lucid enough to recognize how cattywampus the AAA gaming space has become. Like, the gaming industry has so many things that I have bitched and moaned about. Probably the biggest practice that
the AAA industry has been going pretty crazy right now. Like Assassin's Creed Shadows, but not only with AAA, but the fact that game journalists just straight up lie and don't care about gamers. We also got game developers that don't care about gamers. They mostly care about their own political ideology. We got game developers in the AAA industry making mediocre to dull games, and then they up the price, so it's actually us paying for them to make a bloated game. It's like, oh man, we hired 400 people, so we're gonna have to make you guys pay $80 for this brand new game, and we're over here like, we didn't make you hire thousands of people and use $300 million to make a video game. We didn't tell you to do that. Who told you to do that? I didn't tell you to do that. And that sort of thing. And then you play the game, and it's a game you can barely even stand for 3 hours. So it's just an overall just crazy time right now. Like, it feels weird to be a PlayStation fan and an Xbox fan at the same time. There's some things that are good, but most of it is bad. Like right now, you remember Game Pass, not remember, but you know Game Pass? I'm telling you right now, Game Pass is gonna be it's going to be $20 a month sooner or later when it comes to Game Pass. Xbox just had a massive amount of layoffs, and I'm over here thinking, if they're going to lay off people, you know what they're going to do? They're going to say like, yo, Game Pass is so valuable, the demand is so high, so we have to up the price by $5, that sort of thing. Sooner or later, people are going to be like, oh, Game Pass is affordable. And then later on, they're going to be like, $20 a month. It will be $20 a month. I know it's fine now, but sooner or later, when it's $20 a month, people are going to start changing their mind.
I've been most vocal about, not exactly shy on, is the topic of you will own nothing and be happy. The Ubisoft motto. God rest that company's soul. What a pile of dog shit. But it's not just Ubisoft. That has become a prevalent business strategy across the gaming industry. You will own nothing. You will be happy. You're basically... You come away with the idea of ownership of whatever games you purchase.
Anybody feel good about renting an $80 game? I feel great.
I've worn this topic out more than a fleshlight in a frat house, but it is something I am very passionate about. The gaming industry is getting away with more and more garbage where they'll take a shit in your mouth and you're expected to thank them for adding some flavor to your taste buds. It's terrible. And there is an initiative that has been aiming to fight back against a lot of these practices that I think really need some big overhaul. And it's an initiative that I think a lot of you are probably very familiar with. It's called Stop Killing Games.
Yep.
And I've followed it since its inception. I've talked about it on stream quite a few times, though this is my first video going over it. And I regret that now because I see it wasn't going as well as I thought it was. Admittedly, I didn't follow how successful the initiative was, only that it was aiming to do good for consumers, and that it was taking proper steps legally to get there, and it was going through all of the right channels.
Right.
And now today I watched a video from the guy that's spearheading this. His name is Ross. He posted a video called
him.
The End of Stop Killing Games, where he's giving an update on where everything's at and how...
So yeah, this guy looks kind of like an old wizard. He's the one that was working on Stop Killing Games. I petitioned myself, by the way, many months ago, and I thought the initiative was going well. I thought it was going as planned, only to turn out that I think the change there was one thing that I was really happy about what Accursed Farms did, was the fact that this was not some sort of let's do, let's burn Ubisoft down and let's get angry at these developers. No, he wanted to do things legally. He wanted to do things by petitions. He's like, this was not what he was standing for. That's it. The end. He really cared about games. I care about games. So he wanted to do this legally through Europe, but somebody that some of us kind of know on Twitch tried to debunk what Stop Killing Games was doing, and you're not gonna like what you hear.
Oh, it's kind of at the finish line here, with a lot of failure to show for it, with only a few other chances to fight back.
You kind of
slowed down. Before getting
down.
into the weeds on the topic, I want to get this in the beginning because I imagine the vast majority of people won't watch the whole thing. I'm putting a link to the full video on Stop Killing Games, as well as a link to where you'd go to help support the Stop Killing Games initiative, because there's only a little bit of time left for the most important parts of it now that it's at the end. So if you know what the movement is and want to support it but didn't know where, the resources are in the description, or if you want to get it right from like the source, I have a link to his video. But I want to go into it myself here because it is a topic that I do feel very strongly about. But for those that don't know anything about Stop Killing Games, I'm going to let him explain it in his own words, so that way you can get an actual, correct, informed explanation of what the initiative is.
Yeah.
And the reason I say it like that, kind of like fucking all,
because we want to get the words straight out of their mouth instead of him just saying it. This way we get better context of what Stop Killing Games is all about. We're actually about to see his website as well, and what he's standing for. There's a reason why Stop Killing Games has been slow to a halt, and we'll get to that in a minute.
You know, Pinky Out, you know, Snooty is...
By the way, if you want to know what we're talking about, basically, all those game... Perfect example. You know how there's certain games like V Rising and Scum, and you're able to rent a server and stuff like that? Like, you're able to do... Like, right now, games that are well known are, you know, they have their own servers. But sooner or later, down the road, maybe you want to go back to those old games that are online, and you want to play them. But you find out that they turn that shit down. So now you can't play that one game, which really does suck. That's what that's what he's trying to eliminate. That's what we're all trying to eliminate. We're trying to have complete ownership of our game. The last thing we want to do is buy a game that we like, go through the years, come back 10, 15 years later, that game that you like, because now you're just in that area where it's just like, you know what? I don't really like the new games lately. I want to go back to my old games. Let's say, for example, you want to play Neverwinter Nights or Neverwinter Nights with your friend. You know what I mean? You want to do your own little dungeon crawling sort of thing, but you can't do it for some reason. You can't play Neverwinter Nights with your friends online. That's what we mean. The perfect example of what we're talking about is the self-preservation with GOG. If I could find it, Neverwinter Nights. You say what you want about CD Projekt Red, their thing for preservation is really, really good. Like, there we go. Like a lot of these games that I have right now, like I got Neverwinter Nights 1, 2, Expanded, stuff like that. Of course, we got Pillars of Eternity, Cyberpunk. Don't worry about those games. I'm mostly talking about like this kind of game and stuff like that, where you know how you try to go on here and you try to search for games that that have been preserved, and you know, now you can play the old game that you kind of miss, and then they bring it back on here, that sort of thing. So I always go on here and I try to find the game that has been lost in time, you know, that has lost support. And of course I got some new stuff in here, but it's mostly like older stuff. Yeah, like I really do like this site. They have a summer sale out right now. Of course, they have really good deals, like 80% off on Witcher 3, stuff like that. But they have a preserved good old game by GOG. So, this thing right here. Time is erasing the games that shaped you. Forgotten, incompatible, unplayable. We can fight back. Games in the program, 183 games. And these are the games like Dragon Age, Devil May Cry, Dino Crisis. Games that they just stopped making. Games that they don't support for like online capability. We got Heroes of Might and Magic. We got Vampire Masquerade. All these older games. We got Fallout, Deus Ex, good one, very good one. Worms. Apparently a lot of people like Worms. But this is the kind of stuff that we're talking about. But anyway. Sorry, I'm very passionate about this. I'm really, really, really passionate about it. Let's keep going. Hey Craig, how you doing?
Because a lot of people don't even really know what this is because of people like Pirate Software completely misrepresenting what the initiative was.
As a refresher, Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement to stop publishers from effectively destroying video games they have already sold to customers.
I'll pause right there.
Yep.
The simplest bare bones birthday suit butt-ass naked explanation for what this is. Stop destroying things that people have paid money to own. I think that is a very understandable, very reasonable take, very agreeable. Now,
Absolutely, because has anybody ever gotten a game and you're just like, oh man, okay, I want to play this game, but you know, I want to stop right here in the middle of the game. And then for some odd reason, you want to come back to your old games, and then you go back to that game that you purchased. You didn't do anything wrong. This isn't some sort of like, oh snap, well, you know, I said a whole bunch of shit that goes against the TOS. No, you went back to that one game, you wanted to play with your friends, y'all got together and you said, you know what, man, let's go back to like fucking Command and Conquer and play some of that. You come back to that game, they shut down the servers completely. And they're just like, well, this game is only online or something like that. I know Command & Conquer you can play offline, but that's still a feature in your game. You see what I'm saying? That's still a feature in your game. Now you can't play that feature? That's what I'm talking about.
I want to quickly jump to a different spot in this video because I think it's important to have this in the beginning because it's something a lot of people have heard that comes from someone that is just wrong about it. It's the pirate software portion. Ross is addressing the video pirate software made many months ago. Ross even says that he didn't plan on doing that because he didn't want to be seen as using this for drama farming because it would start to make the movement look less of like a legitimate initiative and more of just like drama.
Perfect. Absolutely. That's fine. I completely stand for that because people want to come in and they want to support this movement to stop killing games. Everybody can agree that, especially if you're a gamer, or if we're not even talking about games. What if any product that you have and then all of a sudden you're like, hey man, I finally bought this perfect example, Switch 2. Switch 2 has a thing where Switch 2 could just be like, yeah, you can't use your Switch 2 anymore. There's that, where they're just like, yeah, we cut off your Switch 2 because we thought you were doing something nefarious. He's like, I didn't do anything nefarious. I'm using your thing to preserve the games. I'm using the tool to preserve my games. Well, my bad. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Where they could just Thanos snap your fucking console. I'm not even talking about games. They could Thanos snap your fucking console and not use it.
Flop content type thing.
Jeez.
But he finally starts talking about pirate software here because it's at the end of the life cycle of this initiative and it's not looking promising, so he's willing to do anything to try and set the record straight and hopefully start getting more momentum back to the movement because the damage pirate software did to it through his video was substantial.
This video came out right as we were building momentum, then except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up.
Bro, is this really... Did you use this thumbnail? Did you use this thumbnail to have a conversation to debunk what Stop Killing Games is all about? Why did you make it a picture of you throwing Stop Killing Games in the trash? That can't be his thumbnail. You know what? I'm just gonna say it's not. You know what? I'm gonna make the screen bigger. So that's the thumbnail that you used. I'm just gonna pretend that you didn't do that because that's just so low, man. Like, you could have a conversation and debate. If you made a thumbnail like this, you're dissing. You're insulting.
Like clockwork. Thor does not understand what Stop Killing Games is. Here it is in his words.
So for those who don't understand, the Stop Killing Games initiatives is basically we don't want single-player games
No.
to have DRM that the developers can turn off and thus render the single-player games inactive anymore. This is what they want to change. They need to be specific that they're talking about single-player games that do not need a server to support them.
No.
And as much as they want it to be about specifically games where it is a single-player game that has always online functionality, it would impact every live service game that exists. Instead of just targeting single-player, always online games.
He didn't say that.
No, that's not what it is. Stop Killing Games includes single-player games,
It's
but
not-
nothing about it is specific to them. He completely made that up, and I have no idea where he got that impression.
I don't know why he would. I mean, we literally just saw the GOG thing, right? Like I was just talking to you about. It's not only touching single-player games, but also multiplayer games. Now, we could have this discussion where we're not talking about MMOs, because MMOs are supposed to last a very long time, and, you know, it's massive. You know, there's that sort of thing where, like, it even is it even touching MMOs? I think it is. Yeah, it's touching all games, not just MMOs. Yeah. Is there any MMOs out there? Am I able to play EverQuest right now? Does anybody know? EverQuest is an MMO, correct? I'm looking it up right now. Can I play? Yes, you can play EverQuest. It is a free-to-play with an optional subscription, massively multiplayer role-playing game that is still active and has new content being released. You can download the game for free and still playing, although a subscription can enhance the experience and grant access to the latest expanses. Download. Okay, EverQuest. This is an old game. Once it's set up, you can launch it. Consider subscription. Although the base of the game is free to play, a subscription can offer benefits such as access to the latest content. Okay, gotcha. System requirements is very, very low, of course. Okay, gotcha. Additional projects. Both live servers. Just an experience, the classic version of EverQuest's early years. Project 1999. Yeah. How is it possible to play EverQuest? No. Getting the sub was worth it 5 years ago, but I haven't been on there in like 5 years. Oh man, yeah, it's been a long time. Let me see. What's keeping EverQuest afloat? What's keeping EverQuest afloat, enduring, is a combination of factors. Dedicated player base. EverQuest has a passionate and loyal community, many of whom have been playing for years and even decades. This provides a constant player population, even if smaller than its peak, allowing for continued development and operations. Dedicated player base. Timed lock progression servers. These servers cater to players seeking a classic EverQuest experience. And then there's nostalgia and immersion. Okay, so these unique gameplay mechanics, continued development and updates. Daybreak Game Company continues to release new expansions and content, which keeps the game fresh and relevant for existing players. Okay, in summary, EverQuest remains afloat due to a combination of its enduring legacy, its dedicated community. Right there. Because of its legacy and dedicated to community. That means pretty much what Daybreak Game Company has done was made the game free, but also building upon their own community to keep the game afloat. Do you see what I mean? They're not saying, oh shit, well, since we don't have the funds, we're just gonna turn everybody's EverQuest game on that they paid for, and all those expansions that you paid for, and we're just gonna Thanos snap that, and then goodbye everybody, y'all have a good day. Nah, that's not what Daybreak Game Company did. What they did was, hey guys, we're gonna make this game free, and if we could work together, we could keep this game afloat. So they're giving the player the tools needed to keep the game afloat, which is very different from what Ubisoft is doing. Anyway, let's continue.
It's the first line on the website. Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge.
Josh Strifehaze did an amazing video on EverQuest 1. I think I've seen that. No, his other videos. I haven't seen that one. But yeah, Josh Strifehaze, he plays that. I think, Co-Carnage did as well.
The legality of publishers destroying video games they have sold to customers.
Wait. So Stop Killing Games is a consumer movement started to challenge the legality of publishers destroying games they have sold to customers. That's it, cut and dry. He's not just talking about MMOs, he's talking about all games.
But the movement includes all this stuff from
things that Stop Killing Games campaign has done. Submit complaints to the Europe. Okay, cool. Submit a petition. Make contact with the BUC. Submit complaints. Cool. All right, that's good. Nothing nefarious. They're talking about the crew again. Yep. And they're even giving the results on the other side. Some of them were dead ends. Some of them are ongoing. Issue escalated at an agency. Decision pending. Still processing. I like the fact that he's giving information as the time goes on. Said they won't act. The ACC should be contacted instead. Said there could be a violation, but it has to be handled through the member states. Failed due to use requiring sales figures on the crew in Brazil to proceed, which we don't have. No response, but this was expected. So they're just trying their damnedest.
From earlier, and he was mostly talking about the initiative.
He didn't even get the Cliff Notes summary right.
No.
He missed all the QTEs and got the bad ending on understanding the initiative from the jump here. Ross is correct. This has nothing to do with just single-player only games that require an online connection, that when the online connection is severed, you lose access to the game.
Right.
Like, yeah, that is included in all of this, but that's not like what the whole movement is about. And for some reason, Pirate Software is stun-locked on that, like fixated as if that is the actual like meat and potatoes of Stop Killing Games. They need to be more specific in their language about it being single-player, always online connectivity games. When that's just not what it's about. Like, they're not being specific about that because that is not what they are specifically targeting. It is about the whole practice of destroying games that consumers have already purchased.
Also, here's another thing. If you're going to sell somebody a game and label it as we can just take your game away, or the game is just rental, or the game is just a license, you're not owning the game, it should say it right up in the front. You see what I'm saying? Instead of just, just gonna keep this to myself, but you don't own the game. What? You see what I mean? If you're going to do something nefarious to like, oh yeah, here's the game, also the game's gone. If you're gonna do it that way, you have to say it up front. You have to say it up front and say like, hey man, you're not gonna own this game. We can get rid of the game whenever we want. We can shut down the servers and all this sort of stuff. You have to say that up front, but they won't because money.
And having no end-of-life plans for games that are
end-of-life
being
plans.
sunset. So, for example, The Crew. The Crew is an example everyone is going to reference and talk about because Ubisoft is still currently in a lawsuit battling against it for what happened with this game. I've yapped about it quite a bit, so I'm not just going to regurgitate that. I'm sure a lot of you already know this story about it. But basically, you buy The Crew, Ubisoft pulls the plug on the servers, you can't play The Crew anymore, now it's just an old wet dream of what once was. And they are facing a lawsuit, and while this is in the umbrella of Stop Killing Games, it is not the only thing Stop Killing Games is referencing when it comes to this practice. Pirate Software is so hung up on it being single-player games that people lose access to, when that is a component of it, but not the entire
thing.
Focus.
Yeah.
Well, the short version is the initiative is about requiring publishers to have end-of-life plans for games they've sold to customers in the future. So when they shut them down, customers can continue running them without their...
Exactly what I was saying. You have to have an end-of-life plan to give, like, you either have an end-of-life plan to take care of this game that you just don't care too much about anymore, or you give the player the necessary tools to be like, okay, you want to play this game with your friends? Cool. We're going to set up some servers. You can purchase some servers, play the game with your friends, and then do that. Or you could just turn off the whole game, and then all those... And then people buying it are going to realize that they just bought a rock. They just bought a rock. You just bought that game? Yeah, sir, you just bought a rock. Congratulate. Yeah, I want to play this game. Yeah, you can't. You can't play it. Basically, they're setting everybody up to play Concord. Can anybody play Concord now? No.
their support. So that's one thing Thor doesn't understand, but he also seems to think this is about converting multiplayer games to single player.
That doesn't make any
Transitioning an
sense.
entire multiplayer server-side game into a single-player video game, which means rebalancing the entire experience around single player.
What? That's not what he's talking about. That's not what he's saying.
Rebuilding everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make all the raids soloable?
First of all, they already do that over there, okay? They're already making things to where you could just work along with the side companions, okay? There's a whole thing where you can just do everything solo with a setup team that is part of the main story. And then secondly, that is not what they're talking about. Wait. What do you mean? He just said what the initiative would not do. Require publishers to give intellectual property rights, require publishers to give up source codes, and require endless support. He literally just said that. He says it right there. It says it right behind him on his screen. Like I said, you remember what I said? You don't have to endlessly support this game. If you don't want to endlessly support this game, that's fine. But can you give people, the customer, the people that bought the game, that want to go to that game that they love, give them the necessary tools to be like, hey, here you go, you can play with your friends, have fun, here's some servers, if you can purchase one, go ahead, you guys can play forever, that's cool. We're not here to get the source code. We're not here to just have, you can't have intellectual property rights with any, with any video game. Nobody's saying that. I don't know why he said that. To completely change the game. I don't know why. Let's continue.
Building everything in the entire game. How are you going to do that with Final Fantasy XIV? You're just going to make all the raids soloable? Imagine the day that World of Warcraft shuts down, and suddenly you have to make it a single-player game for every individual that ever bought the game.
That's not what he's talking about. It was right behind. It was right on his screen.
That's what they're asking for.
No.
Because they would have to sunset live service games as a single-player experience. The idea that suddenly you need to make every single live service game playable single-player offline? No, dude.
Correct. No.
This part is more confusing than Finnegan's Wake, because nowhere in anything on Stop Killing Games has this even been like a a talking point from anyone besides Pirate Software. I don't know where he pieced this puzzle together. Like I don't get it. Like, if I'm gonna try and like really reach here and give like a charitable explanation for this take, maybe he's extrapolating based on the idea that if publishers have to have end-of-life plans for their games, that includes MMOs, where once the game is getting sunset, you're pulling the plug on it, you would then need to turn the game over to the community in a playable state, an accessible state, like give the code to them.
It just said, let him continue, because he's probably about to say the same thing I'm about to say.
Thus, it'd turn it into a single-player experience, so the onus would be on the developers to rebalance their game to be a single-player experience for them? I guess. I have no idea. That still just doesn't make any sense, but maybe that's the tree he's barking up with that thought process. I really don't know, because Stop Killing Games at no point ever says any of these multiplayer games need to be converted to single player.
No, nobody said that.
That really is outlandish. And the more I think about it, like, the more nonsensical it becomes, because even in Pirate Software's hypothetical fanfic there, why would the developers need to rebalance the game? They would just turn over the code to the community and just it'd be in that state. They're no longer responsible for balancing the game. That's the whole point. They're not indefinitely supporting it. They would just be responsible of leaving the game in an accessible state to the community while they would shut down the servers on their end. Like, they wouldn't need to go back through with a whole development team and, like, you know, tweak the game to be single player.
Basically, what he's trying to say is, like, oh, so we don't need to take care of, like, we don't need to take care of this house because, you know, we're giving it to these new people, and so we're just giving them the keys to the house. You see what I'm saying? It's just like, oh, I don't really need to take care of it. I'm giving you the keys. Oh, okay. All right. I don't have to worry about the maintenance. Pretty much. I mean, I still like this game. It's kind of janky, but I still like the game. Just hand over the keys and we'll play the game. He's like, oh, that's fine. That's cool. As long as, you know how much AAA developers love not doing work. So just hand over the keys.
Player compatible.
I don't know why he's mentioning one-player games. I don't know where he's getting that.
Doesn't make sense. Like, I really do not understand that one. But apparently a lot of people latched onto that talking point from Pirate Software as something that Stop Killing Games was asking for and how unreasonable it was. Which, if that's what Stop Killing Games was asking for, it would be unreasonable.
Yeah.
But that's not what it's asking for.
Nowhere in there does it say that it's directly targeting always online single-player games.
Oh, he's so close. He's so close to getting it.
It is vague, and because of that, it will impact.
Oh, it's not vague. What?
He never has that light bulb moment. Well, he is correct in that statement. It's almost as if that's not what the initiative is asking for.
I know this part is once again just reinforcing that he doesn't know what the Stop Killing Games movement is about, but I have to just show you this because it is so fascinating, because he himself literally calls out that Stop Killing Games at no point explicitly mentions single-player always online games or anything like that. And for some reason, instead of following the breadcrumbs that would naturally lead him to the conclusion of, oh, maybe I misunderstood, maybe because it's absent here.
Yeah, I'm looking for the moment where he's looking for the information and looking back and saying, oh, okay, my bad. And I'm like, is he looking?
That's not what this is actually about. Instead, he uses it as a criticism against the Stop Killing Games initiative entirely, saying it's just too vague, it's way too vague. The reason it is not explicitly stated there is because that is not what the whole initiative is about. It is not specifically targeting that thing that you keep saying that it is.
Yeah, he's really focused on the one play. What is up with Pirate Software's ego? Am I the only one noticed? No, I can't be the only. It's almost like, let's keep going, because it feels like he's just trying to avoid the conversation in its entirety. It's like encountering somebody that likes to talk but never likes to listen.
I don't know how that never clicked.
But those were his streams with a smaller audience. What does he say in his big YouTube video with over 1 million views that he had time to research?
If we're trying to kill off the practice of developers putting together a live service game pitching it as a single-player experience
Huh?
and then taking away support in the future.
That's not what he's...
Now he's changed it again and is making up how it's about single-player games are advertised. What is he doing?
It needs to be specific about the business practice it's trying to defeat, which is specifically companies that are doing this under the guise of it being a single-player game, but adding online-only functionality that is not necessary and doesn't add any gameplay elements. That's the problem.
No, that's not it at all.
This
not
is a
it.
really strong section from Ross here because the clips that you saw moments ago were from his stream. When he took more time to watch it and digest it, he still came back in that video misrepresenting it. Like, it never dawned on him. Like, on stream, he could write it off as like, oh, he didn't grasp it in the moment, maybe later on he did. Well, then he made the video where he still was talking about things that are just not what Stop Killing Games was about, and this was the one that really blew up and really started to kind of dismantle the Stop Killing Games momentum.
So pretty much everybody just went up to Pirate Software and he's like, oh yeah, that's... okay, so Stop Killing Games is trash. Okay, yeah, I won't support it. I wouldn't say particularly he is a well-known like streamer on Twitch. I guess with a certain amount of pull, people could see that and be a little disjointed about Stop Killing Games, but I wouldn't say... I guess word of mouth from what Pirate Software was saying, where people just flat out just agreed with him without looking at the facts. I don't want to say that that's the reason why it slowed down, but you know what I think it did? I think it slowed it down, but not quickly. It didn't stop the initiative of Stop Killing Games to an entire halt. I think it took months for it to realize, oh shit, Stop Killing Games is not going anywhere because people really don't believe in the initiative anymore. It could help, but it's not Pirate Software. I don't think I'm gonna put every blame on Pirate Software when it comes to like, oh shit, the reason why Stop Killing Games isn't working is because of Pirate Software. No, but he is a part of it, but no.
If we don't like the idea of live service games as a whole, I get it. Don't play live service games then. Don't agree to those terms.
No, he's getting a new thing wrong now.
What is he talking about? We're not talking about
We're not against them existing.
Yeah.
We're against them being destroyed with no recourse for the customer.
Perfect example. What happens when Rainbow Six Siege... What happens when Rainbow Six Siege, or... No, let's think of another game. No. What Rainbow Six Siege is widely known. Let's just say it's been another 30 plus years of Rainbow Six Siege, but there's been a multitude of new games coming out after Rainbow Six Siege. A whole bunch of different games came out, but it's 30 plus years and people have forgotten about Rainbow Six Siege. Okay, we're not saying that we don't want the live service games. What we're saying is, can we keep, because you cannot play Rainbow Six Siege if the servers are down. If it's not being supported, you're not holding a video game. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about.
Pirate Software then goes on to talk about like the business practice of misleading consumers into thinking that what they're buying is a product as opposed to a license to a product, which is a totally separate thing. And then he criticizes Stop Killing Games for not being specific about that thing that he is bringing up as opposed to what Stop Killing Games is talking about. So he's using that against them for some reason. And then Ross goes into like the license talk.
Our problem is not with licenses failing to inform people. Blizzard says they can take away your purchase for no reason.
You remember when I was talking about Switch 2? You remember when I was talking about Switch 2? You remember that? Blizzard reserves the right to terminate this agreement at any time for any reason, or for no reason, with or without notice to you. It's like, if you're getting a Blizzard game, you might as well just be playing the game of Twitch. Oh, you want to play that new Blizzard game? Do you like Twitch? No? That's basically what a Blizzard game is. They'll ban you out of fucking nowhere with no notice. That's what Blizzard is.
That sounds pretty clear to me. Our problem is those terms are so hostile to consumers and the medium that they should be taken off the table entirely.
Yes, taken off. Absolutely.
This needs regulation. Forget video games. If you look at basic commerce for hundreds of years, when you paid money, you either got to keep what you paid for.
Oh, thank God he's talking about this.
Or if it was a service, you were told when your access ends.
That's it. That's it. That's all it is. Like I told you before, am I paying for a fucking rental service? I just bought this game. Is this a rental? It's like, oh yeah, after a while, this game's gonna, if this game doesn't do well, you know, it's just gonna be gone. Are we gonna return your money? No, not really.
The vast majority of
most online only video games, customer keeps nothing. Customer is not informed upfront when access will end. Absolutely. Absolutely, and it fucking sucks. It absolutely sucks. You'll come back to that game and you'll realize that there's nothing. There's nothing coming back.
Online-only games do neither of those.
He's exactly right. That is a huge problem. Now, Pirate Software is correct here about the...
Like I said before, you either keep the product and you can play the product, and then there's the option to be like, oh, well, we're letting you know ahead of time that this thing is not going to be, you know, here for a while. But, and then there's the third one where it's just like, oh, well, we will give you the tools to keep your game, and, you know, you can have your own server and play the game for however long you want. When Blizzard comes out and says, oh, we just, there's no reason for you to keep the game, you know, that sounds like a legal issue. It sounds like a huge legal issue, or you could just come back home and realize you can't play your game. You remember when I was talking about Switch 2?
These companies that will mislead consumers through this fraudulent advertising on what you're actually buying, because in a lot of cases, you don't own any of the shit that you're buying. Mm-hmm. It is pretty much a rental. You get a permission slip to access the content. Yeah. That is an issue, and not making it abundantly clear to consumers that that is what you are buying is a problem, and so too is the actual agreements, as Ross demonstrates with Blizzard, where it says they can just completely terminate it for no reason at all.
Not only because I know a lot of people go through video games and then they give you that agreement thing that everybody goes through, where they just hit the button to agree and understand and stuff like that. You remember, you know, those when you play a game and it just gives you that disclaimer agreement and then you just hit agree. Well, when you flood people with a whole bunch of text, people aren't gonna read it, so you incentivize them to just click that button and hit agree. You do not pop right up there on the top of the screen, you do not own this game, and also we could shut this game off whenever we want. Right up at the top with bold red letters with a fucking shader on the back. They don't do that. They put that shit all the way at the fucking bottom, bruh.
It really does go against the basic idea of commerce entirely. Video games are in a totally different ball game when it comes to that, because half the time you don't realize that you're just buying an admission ticket to a game. You're not actually buying the game. Yep. You also don't know how long that's going to last. Nope. Again, to go back to Concord, that shit lasted less than fucking,
8 days. It lasted 8 days. 8 days.
Just fucking rainstorm, basically. Like, there is just so many problems. So I don't know why Pirate Software would be so harsh on Stop Killing Games for not addressing specific things that he himself is bringing up or making up in regards to it. It just doesn't compute. It really is a video that did significant damage to an actually positive initiative that aimed to help consumers in the video game space.
Right.
All based on his complete misrepresentation of it, which was a complete mess.
If you try to tell me that every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Oh,
No. No. That's not what... Hold on. It's not what they're trying to say. What they're trying to say is... That's not what he's trying to say. There are... If I was going to deliver a game that was like a survival game, what I would do is I would provide... Go to V Rising. I got the game V Rising. It's a vampire survival game. What they have for V Rising is you're able not only to play offline, you're also able to play online with friends on V Rising's own servers, or you can make your own servers. So now you have 3 ways to play your game that is online. Offline, via V Rising servers, or your own server that you can own or rent. Perfect. That's it. Now, let's just say sooner or later this whole game's just gonna shut down. Let's say this game called Crazy Survival Horror Simulator. Crazy Survival Horror Simulator is a great game, but it's been a while, and the development team doesn't want to fucking support the game. You know, it's a crazy game, but they got another game coming out soon, and they don't want to support their old game. Well, motherfucker, did you say that you're going to do that for your first game? Did you say up in bold letters, hey, there's a, I mean, that you're gonna shut down the game, your old game, whenever? Perfect example. Dune Awakening is by the same developers that did Conan Exiles. They would have to come up and be like, hey, Conan Exiles, our old game, we're gonna shut that down. So play Dune Awakening, go ahead and buy that. Cheers, guys. Nah, that's not how it works, man. You have to give people the option to be like, okay, you can do your own servers. We wanted to let you know beforehand when you bought Conan Exiles in the beginning, or just don't do that at all. That'd be great. There has to be an incentive to take care of your customers because they paid for the game. But that it has been seen time and time again that these developers will just throw away their game. And if they're not throwing away their games, they're getting rid of you.
No! He wheeled out that line about publishers having to support the game forever. He was literally watching the video earlier where it says it won't do that.
What this initiative would not do is require endless support. You remember what I said? When I said, okay, you're not going to support the game anymore, give us the incentive to let us support the game. Just like EverQuest. EverQuest is a good example. Give us the incentive, give us the tools that we need to take care of the game while you're gone. While you go bye-bye. That's it. That's it. There's no, oh shit, support the game endlessly for all time. No. All we're saying is you either do two things. You either let us keep the game, or you give us the tools to be like, hey man, Just letting you know before you start this game for the first time, this game could be gone out of nowhere. Just letting you know. Just bold red letters. This game could be gone at any time. Poof, right there at the top. They won't do that shit. They'll be like, listen, just like Blizzard, we could just shut your game off.
In big letters. That wasn't enough. We just can't stop gamers from going there, even when we spell it out.
That's the last clip I want to show from this section on the Pirate Software video, but it's a very important one because this is something a lot of people also think the Stop Killing Games initiative is about, where developers, publishers will have to support their games forever.
Yeah.
Like, until the fucking heat death of the universe, they'll have to support these games under the initiative.
I'll be honest, if you're fucking with me, if you've made the game horrible, like let's say you're playing a game and even though the game is great, the developers have had bad patches. You know what I mean? There's some games out there with bad patches and bad hotfixes and you're like, why did you break this? This was just fine. The next patch brings new stuff, but it patches some new stuff, but it breaks the old stuff, and you're like, why did you do this? And by the time that they're like, you know what, we're done with the game. I forgot what that game was. I forgot what that game was. I think it was Non-Human. I think it was another survival game. But basically, I'm just like, you know what? I don't want you to support the game anymore because you suck at supporting this game. Just give us the tools to be like, you know what? We can put servers on this game. You could just leave us alone and make your next game or take your money that you took from us and buy yourself a yacht or something like that. Just give us the tools to rent some servers and piss off. You know what I mean?
When that is not the case. It is very simply asking that when the game has reached the end of its life cycle, the publishers, developers don't want to work on it any longer, to turn it over to the community to still be in a playable, accessible state so the product can still exist.
Exactly.
There is some more nuance, obviously, to how that works, given, like, publisher developer licensing and a lot of, like, the code, the binary, that kind of thing. There is a lot at play under the hood there, of course, but it is something that Stop Killing Games isn't naive to, and it is something that is talked about. But I'm not going to dive too deep into it. I encourage you to check more in on it. But this whole belief that it is about endlessly supporting a live service game, even when it makes no sense to do so and it's beyond dead and in the dirt, is ridiculous, because that is not what it is asking for. And a lot of people think that it is. It's not. Pirate Software got that wrong as well. Anyway, I'll stop yapping about it, but as mentioned in the beginning, most of Stop Killing Games hasn't been successful in getting change. And Ross has dedicated so much of his life to this, and it's clearly taken a big toll. Now he's doing everything he can for this last ditch push to try and help. And there are two big things coming up that can do so. And it's what I linked at the very beginning of the at the very beginning of the video about the resources in the description. It's in regards to this.
One is for the UK to sign a government petition to bring this issue before Parliament.
Right.
Though, keeping it real, I'm not terribly optimistic about this one, since the government response has been a mess by every definition. But the one that has a lot of power, so much so I think it could change the course of gaming history, is the European Citizens Initiative. Now, I said I'm approaching this like a time traveler because with the trajectory we're on, these are both going to fail. Again, this one is crazy powerful, but the hurdle we just couldn't get past was that it requires 1 million signatures from citizens of EU countries. And we've only made it just under halfway.
From citizen UK. So my petition wouldn't help. You would have to be, UK and all that stuff. Man, that sucks, man. So okay, gotcha.
What a lot of people don't realize is that in the EU especially, it's almost a state of lawlessness regarding the practice of game destruction. Is that the vast majority of games with an online requirement say they can be terminated at any time for any reason.
There it is again. There it is again. He's like, hey man, We could just disappear. The termination thing should be this term. I bet you this thing that he's showing me right now, this terms of service, this termination area, this thing that he highlighted should be at the very top, but they won't do it because they know it goes against the law.
Blizzard likes to say any or no reason. But uh-oh, according to the EU Commission, that might be a violation of Directive 9313 EEC.
Directive 9313 EEC prohibits unfair terms causing a significant imbalance in the parties' rights and obligations to the determination of customers. Terms such as those related to the unilateral modification or termination by the trader of a contract indeterminate duration without reasonable notice may be deemed unfair, subject to a case-by-case assessment. You got something here.
C, which protects consumers against unfair terms and consumer contracts.
Basically, these motherfucking developers are snake oil salesmen. That's what they are. They're just like, hey, come on, kids, come on down and come play this. Hey, play this game. Oh, this game's so good. What is it like? Oh, you could do so many things with this game. He's like, oh man, how many hours are in the game? Oh, there's thousands of hours in this game. That's great. He's like, this seems like a good game that I might play for the rest of my life. Yeah. And then when the kid comes back after like a couple of weeks to find that snake oil salesman, he gone. He's just like, hey, I can't play my game. That snake oil salesman is gone.
So if that term is unfair, that means that part of the contract is null and void.
He goes on to explain how powerful that can be because of what a mess that is. Because there is so much gray area with how the video games currently operate in regards to those protections, it would be a legal headache that would require an analysis of the laws or implementation of new laws that could lead to, hopefully, an improvement when it comes to gaming. So the big hurdle was the signatures, needing 1 million, and currently it's at like 460,000, so it doesn't reach the threshold. I've been very vocal from the very beginning about how little faith I have in petitions, but that's just from the perspective of an American. In America, petitions are more worthless than toilet paper. You're better off just writing what you want on a note to Santa Claus and shipping it to the North Pole than you are doing anything with a petition in this country.
He's right. Oh my god, he's right. Oh my gosh. He's right. I
don't know how different it is in the EU. Maybe it really is this powerful there that could lead to substantial change and improvement when it comes to games and preservation and all of what we've already talked about. Hopefully, I mean, that's really all that's left for the Stop Killing Games initiative, which sucks, but that's the position that it's in, unfortunately. And I wanted to talk about it because I really want to see something change with the games industry.
Yeah.
I've said that so many times recently, but it's in such a sorry state. I mean, I'm talking big budget AAA space. Indies, I think, are absolutely crushing it. Absolutely golden right now.
Abso-fucking-lutely. AA and indie games are crushing it, and you know what? Good.
On the golden age of indie games, but
that's because Jeff Keighley keeps on coming out. Oh man, we've seen so many great games. Look at the list of games that are not AAA, and I'm like, yeah, Jeff, yeah.
Overall, in the big budget games and the way the industry keeps pushing things, it sucks. So
it really does.
I wanted to talk about Stop Killing Games here. Hopefully things can turn around and maybe a huge W's around the corner for the Stop Killing Games initiative. We'll see, but anyway, I want to commend Ross for his hard work spearheading
Yeah,
all of this
yeah.
for so long, and that's really about it.
That's a really good video. That's a really good video. I'm going to share this with you guys, and I'll also share the initiative as well. Here you guys go. That's the video, and to support the initiative, if you're in the EU, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, this is where what they just said is they need petitions that are in. It looks like you can select any nationality, but they need stuff that are in the Whoa! He said 400, and they've already passed half. Yo! They've already passed. They said 400,000. He's at 500,000. Yo, this video was. It reached 2 million people. That's good. That's good. Let me send this off to you guys. Let me copy this. So if you're in the EU, you know, help a brother out. Here you go. I send it to your way. And it looks like he also pinned something. This is Ross right here. And he said, right here, thanks a ton for telling people about this. If this isn't enough to get people to pay attention, I'm not sure what will. For anyone who doesn't want to watch my long video about it, the European Citizens Initiative would bring it before the EU to require publishers to start. I think that's what he needs to do. He needs to find an editor. He needs to find an editor that does his videos, because if they're long form, bro, you might as well be having my channel. I do long ass videos. You might as well be doing my, I might as well be your editor. Find an editor that can make the videos about 15 to 20 minutes, and you might have something. So you wouldn't be left with nothing once they end support. All the focus is on the EU, since the laws in the US are too locked down on this, but not elsewhere. If companies were required to have end-of-life plans for their games, people in the US would get the benefits downstream. That's very true, very true. Similar to how Australia suing Valve over not having refunds led to people having them globally. Yeah, that was kind of bullshit, Valve. Listen, Valve does great things, but they ain't all that great. Also, as others have pointed out, it's much more powerful than a petition. EU... That's my phone, sorry. EU regulators would be required to respond to this. So, people in the EU, that's you? Yeah. Shamer right now is too busy, doom scrolling about the EU. But it would be great if he petitioned for stop killing games right now and do something about it. I'm just saying.